thought for the day. The art and science of asking questions is the source of all knowledge.
Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina Aina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being.
In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we delve into the realm of critical thinking, exploring 3 fundamental concepts that can help us master this invaluable skill. Have a listen.
But first, before we begin, let's talk about critical thinking itself. Like, what is it? Right? There is a lot of information out there around critical thinking, a lot of tips and tricks that you might have come across, but I want to give you a clear distinction on what critical thinking is. Right? So I want to share with you 2 characteristics of critical thinking and the activities involved in it as well. Okay, so let's start with the 2 characteristics. The first characteristic of critical thinking is a disciplined process. So what does that tell you? It means that critical thinking is not a destination. It means that it is a process, not a destination. It means that in any situation, any conversation, collaboration, or transaction that you are a part of, this is your ability to go through the process with discipline and focus. Right? So that's the first characteristic. The second characteristic of critical thinking is that it is a way of reasoning, right? It is a methodology that you are really utilizing the 4 center of your brain, the rationale centers. And this rational center, the executive function of your brain, is the opposite of the emotional side. In fact, this is where you are not making decisions or having judgments or presumptions based on emotional responses, but more so from executive function. That's what that means. Critical thinking is a way of reasoning. So those are the 2 characteristics of it. So what are the activities? When you are practicing critical thinking, what you are essentially doing is that you are analyzing, you are conceptualizing, and you are synthesizing new information. And sometimes it could, as a result of it, it could come out that you produce some new knowledge, but more importantly, it means that you are putting perspective on the information you are gaining outside of you. So when it comes to the principles on how to master your critical thinking skills, it breaks down into these concepts. Right? So these are the concepts that stem from the principles that I want to share. And the first concept, the key concept to mastering your critical thinking is this. It is the wisdom of the ages. Wisdom of the ages. What do I mean by that? Right? When it comes to being able to refine and hone the way that you think, it's important that you continue growing because remember, critical thinking is not a destination. It is a process. It's a way of reasoning, right? So when it comes to that, it is really important that you don't stop learning. You are a lifelong learner within your field and also related to your field as well. So this requires you to constantly be developing your knowledge, deepening knowledge in certain areas, while obtaining breadth in knowledge in others as well that are related or that could cause the current depth of knowledge to have more meaning to it. So when you are obtaining knowledge from sources around you, it's important to focus more on what is wisdom versus what is popular. Because if you think about it, there are a ton of books out there, a ton of resources out there that you can tap into. And some of these resources, books included, are popular. But I always say, instead of searching for and going for what's popular, going for what is wisdom. So this is really key. Because have you ever done this before? Read a book or maybe read an article and really thought to yourself, oh, this is not very helpful. It's very general. Or maybe you thought to yourself, well, it's very fluffy. Or maybe you thought to yourself, well, I don't know how this is particularly helpful. I've heard those concepts before. And that's because this is what happens when you go for things that are popular. But wisdom of the ages are things, wisdoms, and insight that come from original thinkers. They come from geniuses that are unborrowed. They come from original thinkers as well. Because when you think of your knowledge, you can think of your knowledge like a tree. A tree has branches and leaves, and the branches come from a trunk as well. But the trunk is grounded in its roots. And the roots, the stronger the roots are, the stronger the tree can withstand weather outside or winds that blow very strong. So your knowledge is like a tree. And so when you're focusing on the wisdom of the ages, you are strengthening your knowledge tree from its roots. So this is where you are learning from original thinkers. You're learning from people who have depth of insights and spent a lot of time synthesizing their knowledge, and not what's popular, but what has stood the test of time. What are conceptual frameworks? You see, your brain is a machine that tries to understand the world around you, to make sense of things that you observe, make sense of things that you notice, and make sense of situations and events that you are a part of. And this is one of the most important jobs that your brain has, is how do you make sense of things to help you understand where you're in, to help you understand your environment. And the way your brain helps you to understand the world around you is by creating what I call conceptual frameworks. And you have frameworks about everything. You have frameworks about politics. You have frameworks about relationships. You have frameworks for your industry as well. And you have frameworks for every subject matter that you have studied in college or in your education. And your frameworks are literally your best thinking. If you think about every decision you've made in your career path up until now, every decision you've made in your life, you did your best at making that decision. You did your best at formulating your own perspectives, your personal philosophies as well, and your belief systems. That was your best thinking. Number 3, the third key concept to helping you master your critical thinking skills is reflective awareness. What does that mean? Now, you have a familiarity. You must have heard of having a greater self-awareness. So what is reflective awareness? Reflective awareness is where you are completely opening your perspectives. Because remember, there's only 2 things you can influence in life. They are the actions you take and the perspectives you have.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.